Hello, everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you so much for coming. This is going to be an experience. I've never done a live stream by myself before. I've always done it with people. So I'm very, very, very excited. I thought we could wait a few minutes for more people to come on. So if you want to just let me know in the chat, I don't know how your day is going, if you've made some great progress, how your experience with the retreats has been so far, whatever you want. We can talk about how your day has been or something, and then we can get into everything in like 5 minutes or so. Also, if I fidget a little bit, it's just because I have a little bit of an anxiety issue with being live, because again, I've never really done it before. So, hi Aria, thank you. Hi Keelan. I don't know how you put. Okay, I don't know how to put comments on the stream because I don't know how StreamYard works. But hi, hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for asking, Sherry. I'm doing pretty good. I'm honestly really tired, and I had some anxiety issues earlier with the stream, but now I'm just really excited, and I spent a lot of time on this, and I'm just super excited. Hi, Brittany. I love Brittany's channel, so it's awesome to see her here. Hello. Oh, see, look, I figured out how StreamYard works. Hi, Brittany. Thank you so much for being here. But yeah, overall, it's been a pretty solid day. I'm very excited. I haven't really been able to participate in any of the other streams that have happened today, but after mine is over, I'm definitely going to check some out. Very excited. So since it looks like we have a good amount of people, I think we can go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to pull up my little PowerPoint that I have prepared. Hello, I am Tiny now. Welcome to the PowerPoint workshop about how to do research for your book. Before we get into it, I have a couple things that I want to say. In the description box down below, for those of you who are interested, I do have the playlist for all of the workshops for this retreat that are going on. So if you are new, hi, hello. The author virtual retreats are these retreats that are going on today and tomorrow. There are live writing sprints, there are workshops like this one, and there are panels. So go check out the playlist. And I also have the PowerPoint that I'm using right now, and I have my script. So if you just want to have like a notes version of everything that I'm going to talk about, I put them in the description box just for you. And I also wanted to say that I will be giving out the secret word about halfway through the stream. If you're unaware, the secret word is basically just something that you guys will be able to use in a form at the end of the retreat when you give feedback about the stream, if you choose to do so. Again, links below. And I just wanted to show this comment from Keelan because I am tiny now, because yes, I love it. I just really, really love it. Okay, so since we are all here, let's just get right into it. So first of all, I just wanted to kind of start with like the basics, just to make sure that we are all on board. I'm sure that we've all done research at some point in our lives, whether that was for a book or that was for a school project or whatever it is. And research basically just allows you to gain knowledge on a topic that you don't know anything about. And today, that's what we're going to be talking about, hence the name of this workshop. So first of all, let's talk about why you need to do research, because I've met a lot of writers who have been like, well, why should I do research? I don't think I really need it. There are a lot of really important reasons why you are going to want to do research, but here are the main 3 ones that I have come up with and that I think are the most important. So number 1, it can really just make your book feel a lot more realistic and authentic. Just because, for example, let's say that your book is set in a place that you yourself do not live. So for example, my work in progress called Lost in Blue is based off of France, and I myself, unfortunately, do not live in France. So I had to do a lot of research about the country in order to make my book just feel a lot more realistic and authentic. And similarly, the second reason that you're probably going to need to do research is just because it's really going to help your reader to stay immersed into your story and just, make them feel like they're really there in the world, and it really adds a whole new layer to the reading experience. And as a reader, I think that it's very obvious when a writer has not done their job as the writer to do the research, and that's never what you want to bring off to your reader. You want your reader to be able to, be fully immersed in your world and stuff like that. And then lastly, number 3, which is I don't think is something that people think about a lot, is that it's going to make the writing process so much easier. And take it from someone who has both done research after writing the book versus prior to writing the book, there is a huge difference. With Lost in Blue, I made the awful mistake of not doing research prior to writing, and that was a huge mistake on my part. I should have done my research. And through the editing process, that made my job so much harder because I actually ended up having to rewrite like over half of my book, partly because I didn't do my research. And that was on me. So don't do that. Learn from my mistakes, do your research before you write your book. Next, let's talk about when you need to do your research. So now that we've established, why you want to do it, how it's going to help you, now we need to kind of think about the situations in which you're going to have to do your research. This, it just kind of depends. I'm going to make this a little bigger because I feel like this isn't, no, that didn't help. That didn't help. Okay, I'm just going to go away for a minute. Hello. So when you need to do research, here are some examples of when you'll need to do the research. Number 1, if you are writing about marginalized groups, specifically if you yourself are not a member of that group. Number 2, if you're writing about a culture or style that you are not a part of. Number 3, if you're writing in a setting that you are not familiar with, like for example, earlier I talked about how in my work in progress it is set in France, but I do not live in France. So, I obviously had to do research there. Number 4, if you are mentioning a hobby, activity, or profession that you yourself do not have any experience in, you'll definitely need to do your research there, because then again, we have that realism aspect of your book. Then number 5, if you are writing historical or science fiction, you have to do research. You're going to have to do a lot of it. And in those genres in particular, just do research. And then lastly, for this slide at least, if you have any sort of fantasy that is rooted in real world inspiration, chances are you're going to need to do research. I would say in pretty much any fantasy book you want to do research, but in particular, if you are writing any sort of fantasy that has inspiration from our real worlds, this does not just mean if you're writing urban fantasy like I am, because lots of genres of fantasy are going to require research. Before I move on, I just want to highlight this comment because it made me smile in the middle of this, so thank you, Hudson, you're so sweet. But moving on, some other examples of when you need to do research is if you are having to write about an event, experience, or feeling that you yourself have not experienced. So for example, let's say you are writing a romance book, but you yourself have never fallen in love, then you might need to research what it's like to fall in love. And the number 2, you will have to do research about any scientific aspects of fantasy. So this could include stuff like birth control, pregnancy, and then anything to do with the science or technological systems. And again, this is a very broad thing that will require lots of research. And then also wanted to highlight this comment from Keelan that says, once I spent a week researching cannon fire ranges for like one scene, there were just no concrete answers. That is actually something that has happened to me multiple times during the research process. I don't think I have a slide about this in particular, but yeah, sometimes you just research and then you just don't find your answer. And I guess in those situations, you just kind of have to work with whatever you found and hope for the best. So now that we've figured out what situations you might need to do research, and again, that was not an exhaustive list, those are just some examples. Where do you find sources? Don't worry. So don't worry. This. First of all, hi, hello, I'm back. So don't worry, this is not the only answer. There is another slide after this, but I just wanted to say that Google is the obvious answer because it's Google. But here's the issue with Google. If you are like me and you Google something and then there are just thousands and thousands and thousands of things that come up, you are going to get so overwhelmed and kind of just think, well, that made my job a whole lot harder. So instead of just being like, Google it, I'm going to recommend to you some sites. But before I even say the sites, let me just say that this is very specific to what I use and to the research that I've done for my book. So again, this is not an exhaustive list, and I'm actually going to show you these sites very quickly, just so that you can get a little bit of an idea of what they look like. So the first one is called, I don't know what it's called actually, hold on, there we go. It is called Writers Write, and this website basically has a bunch of articles about writing, and I typically use this for more like general research, and in my opinion, this site typically has like research about just about anything, so I think that this site is a really good starting point. And as you can see here, hold on, let me make this larger. There is by genre category, there's resources by type, there's international resources, so they have a bunch of stuff on their website. I would highly recommend for you to check them out. They are a very good resource, and I love them so much. Oh my god. Okay, before we continue, I see so many comments and I'm getting really happy. So Keelan said, great advice. Thank you. Aria said, yay, they've returned. I have. Hello. Keelan, this one made me laugh so hard. Oh my god. And then Sherry said, Google doesn't work for me for researching. I end up giving up and looking for the books on the topics that I'm researching. I think this is actually my next point. So honestly, right on track. So where's the site? Hold on. The next resource that I use quite a lot is the New York Public Library, which is kind of surprising to me because I don't live in New York, but I still use it because it's just really helpful. So this is what I'll use if I need a very credible source, and we will talk about source credibility here in a little bit. But as you can see here, you can do the different subjects, you can do it by location, you can do it by the audience, you can do it by language, you can have a description, stuff like that. And I think it's also worth mentioning that if you are attending a college or something, they will typically have their own library databases. I would highly recommend for you to check those out. The college that I attend does have a library database, and it is so, oh my god, so helpful when I'm researching, not only for my academic work, but also for my creative writing. It's just a really helpful resource, and I would definitely recommend it. Also wanted to highlight this comment because, again, rabbit holes. We love them, we hate them, we'll talk about them in a minute. And Colin said, finding online maps for London prior to 1857 was a rabbit hole I fell down. I could totally see that happening, especially with like researching for historical type of stuff, because I do not write historical fiction. Well, I haven't written a book about it yet, so I haven't like gone through that sort of rabbit hole, but that happens all the time in the research process, unfortunately. And wanted to highlight this because you guys are so sweet. Thank you so much. And then Heather said, don't get me started on Google research. It is truly, oh my God, just no. If you have anxiety, Google is the worst place to just do your research and just look it up. It's just no. Okay, anywho, I got a little sidetracked with comments, but you guys are just the sweetest. So the next source I'm going to talk about, I have it open to this page just because I referenced this when I was researching for my book Lost in Blue, because if you don't know, the main character gets bitten by a werewolf in this. So Quora is a site, and it is very, very helpful for if you are looking for someone's personal experience with something. So in this article in particular, it asks about what would happen if I were bitten by a wolf. So I use this as kind of like to help me figure out how to write my main character being bitten by a werewolf. And obviously I had to adjust a lot of the stuff to fit with the fantasy element and the world building and stuff like that. But I mean, it was basically the same. So yeah, I really like Quora. It's not the most like credible source or anything like that, but it's really helpful if you're just looking for someone's personal experience. Yeah. And then Aria said, I see a kitty. Yes, I didn't even notice, but I do have 2 cats. So if you guys see any running around, that is very normal in my videos. They just love being around. Okay, let's move on to, I think I only have, okay. I have one last site to show you, which is Writing with Color. So, in case you can't tell, I am white. Hello. And my screen's going to go away again really quick. So, Writing with Color is a blog that is probably mostly helpful to white people, but obviously helpful to people of all races, where basically it's just a blog about writing people of color, and they have their archive right here with a bunch of asks. They also have, on their main page, they have a list of blogs, recs, and resources, and this is the main use that I've gotten out of their blog, to be honest. But again, all aspects of it I found really helpful. I do not believe they are an active blog anymore, but their archive is honestly so huge, and it's useful in of itself. And the other website I'm not going to show you just because I feel like it's not going to be helpful to the majority of you guys, but it is called The Good Life France, and I would recommend a site like this if you are writing a book that is set somewhere that you do not personally live, because I basically use that site for the majority of my research about France. I obviously also used other sources, but that was just like the main thing that I used for. I found it to be super helpful. So that covers the sources to find research. But before we move on, we have a secret word. Hi, hello. So the secret word for this stream is red, because red is my favorite color and I couldn't think of anything else. So red is your secret word. Write it down, save it, whatever you gotta do, and make sure that you mention it in the feedback form, which again is linked in my description box down below, but is also on the Author Virtual Retreats website for at the end of the retreat. I just decided to link it for convenience sake. And now, let's move on to the bane of research, in my opinion, which is credibility, because credibility is always something that confuses me for some reason. I think it's because going from like an academic setting where you need sources to be super credible to go to like creative writing is just very different, and it confused me a lot at first. But here are some questions that you're going to need to ask yourself to figure out if a resource is credible or not, because even though we are writing fictional books, you still want your information to be accurate. So question number 1, what will you be using this research for? This is going to help you determine how credible overall it's going to be. So for example, are you using this research to base off the setting of your world? Are you using it for the world building? Are you using it for a character? Stuff like that. And then the second thing that you need to think about is how credible do you need the source to be? Again, this is going to depend on what you'll be using the research for, but this will also depend on how much of the book that this type of research is going to be used in the book. So for example, let's say that you are researching about France since your book is set in France. That is going to be a consistent thing that will be mentioned throughout the entire book because it's the setting. It's kind of important. So when you're researching something like the setting, you're probably going to want it to be at least somewhat credible. And then the third question you're going to ask yourself is, where is this information coming from? So let's say, for example, you need to research something about science for your sci-fi book. Now, let's say that you stumble across a 14-year-old who has a Tumblr blog. I have nothing against 14-year-olds. I myself am not that much older than a 14-year-old, but I would also still not take advice from someone who is that young when it comes to something like science. I'm sorry, just like, make sure that the author is at least a little bit credible. That way you're not basing your research off of something that could be incorrect. And before we move on, I love these comments, so let's talk about a few. First of all, Stig, hi, hello Stig, said, Francois loves butting into your videos. He's definitely not invited to, but honestly, he's invited to them all in my heart. I love this comment so much. Francois really does love just joining the streams. And then, hi, hello, welcome, Katie. We are talking about researching, as you could probably tell. And, oh, Kelly is also here. Hi, hello. And then Aria, I'm nothing against 14-year-olds. I don't want people to yell at me, okay? I don't. I was just trying to give an example. To be completely honest, it was really hard for me to think of an example of, like, a not credible, like, author, because I think, like, the majority of the time, at least for me, it's pretty easy to find a credible author. Anyways, so if you need a source that is going to be highly credible, that is where we utilize scholarly sites. So the main two things that I look for in a scholarly site is somewhere with no ads, because let's be honest, all websites have ads at this point, all of them. So if they don't have ads, it's pretty likely that they are a scholarly site. Number two, they're written by a credible author. Again, in any circumstance, you're going to want this to be written by a credible author, but in particular, when you're looking for a scholarly source. Okay. And then for resources that need to be averagely credible, give me a second.
Hello. I wonder what you're doing.
Family interruptions. We love to see them. Sorry about that. Anyways, what was I? Okay, credibility. Okay, we just talked about the scholarly sources. Now let's talk about the not scholarly but still credible sources. Hello, that was quite a title. So number one, again, credible authors. Number two, readability. Oh my god, I cannot speak. If an article does not even have correct spelling or grammar, do you seriously trust that the content of the article is also going to be true? Because I do get that spelling and grammar is kind of hard, but still, I expect for the author of an article to be able to know how to use commas if they are going to help me with my research. And then some examples of this include some of the sites that I mentioned, like Quora or Writing with Color. And I feel like these are the sources that you're most often going to see writers using with their books. And before we dive in deeper, I realized I forgot to say this earlier, so whoops, my bad. But just remember that in general, I would say 9 times out of 10, you really don't need a scholarly source to base off of your research. I would say the only times you are really going to need it is when you need highly credible information. So for example, if you are looking into something that has to do with biology in order to what is it called? In order to like base like your technological system in your sci-fi book, then yeah, maybe have like a higher credible source. But again, 9 times out of 10, you really don't need it. I just wanted to mention both for whatever reason. Also, I love your guys' comments about family. Keelan said we love family. That we do. Stick said family, love to see them, love to say goodbye to them. And then I know I'm going to say this name wrong. I am so sorry. Lujan said that family interruption is so relatable. I had a meeting in 2 minutes and suddenly everyone in my family wanted to talk to me and needed my help. Seriously, I do not know what my cousin wanted. If you guys have seen some of my earlier videos, you've probably seen him. Oh no, their kitty wants out. Yeah, Francois, or was that Ladix? No, it's Ladix. My bad. Ladix is constantly trying to escape, so that's a fun time. Okay, so I'm getting tracked by comments again, so let's continue. So now let's ask another burning question people seem to have, which is, how much do I need to know for research purposes? Okay, this is so tiny. I'm just gonna go away for another minute. Ooh, all right. So in general, you just need to know enough in order to write your story, but obviously that is a very vague answer and it's probably not going to help you. So again, I'm going to give you 3 questions to ask yourself. Question number 1, how important is this topic to your story? Because more important topics are going to need more time in the research process. And then number 2, how much of this information is going to be used in the story. Sorry, I got distracted by this comment. Oh my god. Sorry, okay. Continuing. So, for example, if a large amount of the information is going to be used in the story, then you are going to need to know more about that topic. But if only a small amount of it is going to work its way into the story, you're probably not going to need to know a whole lot about it, although this will definitely depend on a case-by-case basis. And then lastly, number 3, how much of this topic do you already know and how much do you still need to find out? So for example, sometimes you are researching topics that you might already have some experiences with. So in that situation, you might be able to realize, okay, well, since I know X about this topic, I'm not going to need to research this part of it. I'll just need to research these parts. I know that was a very vague example, but just go with it. So next, let's talk about how long the research process takes. So the short answer is it depends, because there's no one answer. There's no it should take X amount of time answer, just because it's honestly just different for everyone and it just completely depends on so many factors. And yeah, so I can't really give you an answer, but what I will do is give you some tips on how you can plan out your research process in order to figure out how long it's going to take for you. So when you're planning, again, 3 questions. I think we are noticing a pattern here. So question number 1, how many topics do you have to research? I don't know if I've really mentioned this in the stream yet. Question mark? Honestly, who knows? But typically when researching, you are going to have multiple topics that you will need to research about. So figure out how many topics you need to do your research about. And then number 2, consider how in-depth your research is going to be for each topic, because based on your answer to this is going to determine how long the overall process is going to take. And from this, you can kind of start to make a time estimates on how long everything is going to take. And based on those two, you can really make like an hour-based guess on how long the research process is going to take. And then lastly, number 3, figure out how much time that you are going to realistically be able to devote to a topic either each day or each week, depending on how you are organizing everything. And in order to give you a better picture of this, let's use an example. But before that, I did see a few comments, and I like going through them, so let's do that. Okay. Anyone read about the author who published a historical fiction and research recipes and ended up using the Zelda Breath of Wild made up in the game ingredients? I did not hear about that, but that is hilarious. Oh my god. Oh, I'm so glad I read that comment. Oh my god, that is hilarious. So aka she looked up the first thing that popped up on Google. That was France, hello. And just used it. How embarrassing. Yeah, that's the other thing that that you have to think about, is that you can't just go with the first thing that you see online, and you can't just go what's the most convenient for you, because obviously like in situations like this, that can be a recipe for disaster. It's best to take your time and, make sure that your resources are credible and stuff like that. Where was our editor? I have no idea. Oh my god. Okay. Anywho, example. Let's talk about it. So, in order to plan your research process, here's a little example for you. So let's say that for your work in progress, you need to research a total of 5 topics. And let's say that 3 of those topics are going to require a lot of in-depth research, and 2 of them really aren't going to require that much research. It'll probably just require like a few hours or so. Once you have that nailed down, you have to decide on the timelines. So you go ahead and decide that you want to dedicate 3 hours a day to researching, which means that you will be researching 14 hours in a week. And you estimate that the research process itself is going to take about 28 hours, and so it should take you about 2 weeks. Now, this being said, even if you set a goal for when to end your research process, it is okay if it takes longer. I think 9 times out of 10, especially if you are researching for your first book, you are going to underestimate yourself. That I feel like that just happens to everyone, and that is completely normal. In my opinion, it is much better to extend your research process and really just take time with it versus just rushing through everything in order to meet that deadline that you made for yourself. And once again, before we continue, we just need to highlight some amazing comments. Oh my god. Our recipe for disaster. Oh my god, I love you so much, Aria. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm laughing way too much at that. Okay, so now that we have talked about the planning and everything, so another very popular question that a lot of people have about the research process is how you can speed it up, because let's be honest, we all have lives and we do not want to spend 15 million years in the research process. Even though, like, I think it was Keelan who said earlier, sometimes you just fall in a bottomless pit of research that never ends. So the first thing that you can do is to research in long chunks. This is my #1 tip if you want to make it go faster. And I like this tip just because you are still taking the same amount of care into the research. But instead of, for example, spending 2 weeks researching for 28 hours, you just take 3 days to research where you research for about 8 hours. So I don't know, I just feel like that makes the most sense, and that's personally what I usually do for the research process. for the research process, but obviously different strokes for different folks. Everyone is different. Again, we are going to highlight comments because honestly, best part of the stream. Thank you, Aria. I agree with this tip. Thank you so much, Keelan. And then Stixon, we all have lives. That's very presumptuous of you. Should I rephrase it and say that most people don't want to spend a century researching the book instead of writing the book? Or I don't know, maybe you do want to spend a century on research. I just don't personally, but you know, whatever works for you. But here are some other tips. Number 2, only research what you actually need to know. So many writers, oh my god, so many writers just do so much research and they don't need to know half of it. And this is just, I don't know. I think that this is kind of like common sense almost, but I still think that as writers, we sometimes just love researching so much to the point where we just do way too much of it. So when you are researching, make sure to ask yourself, why am I doing this research? Is this actually going to help me with my book? Because trust me, that will save you a lot of time. And then this last tip is not something that I don't think I would recommend for most people, and it is not something that I personally do, but I'm going to mention it just because I know that a lot of other writers do this, and I have heard that it works well for a lot of other people, but we're just gonna say it, which is that if you choose to, you can postpone some research for later down the line. With this, I would not recommend postponing like your big topics that you need to research that are going to affect a lot of parts of your story. But for example, let's say you need to do research about a small topic that's going to appear in literally just one scene of your book. Yeah, oh my god. Theoretically, you could just postpone that research until later down the line. Again, personally, that's not something I would do, but I do know other writers who that has worked for, so I thought I'd mention it just in case that works for you. Because obviously, everything that works for me may or may not work for you, and you know what? That is completely fine. We are different people, so, you know, that's normal. So now that we have that, I think we're on our last slide. So hello. And we're going to conclude with how much should you include in the story? Again, very popular question I've gotten about research, and this can be really hard because once you've spent all of that time on research, you just want to include every single detail in your book. But please, I beg you, do not do that. Your readers will not thank you for it. So, as a general rule of thumb, if a part of the research is not relevant or important for the story, don't include it. But to be more specific, when you are including your research in your story, you are going to want to include relevant details that will add realism, authenticity, or are simply just there so that the reader can just understand what's going on, and so that they're not super confused. And a lot of these kind of can go hand in hand with world building, since researching and world building a lot of the time can go hand in hand, but not every story is going to require for you to do world building, whereas every story is typically going to require some form of research. And some examples of this sort of thing that you may include throughout your book could be, at least for me, French customs, a few slang terms. Please do not overload the reader with 50 million slang terms. They will not thank you for it, and among other things. So I think that's the last one. I feel like I should double check. That is the last one. Okay, so that is all that I have for my tips, my advice, my tricks. I purposely left a little bit of time, so if you guys have any other questions of things that I didn't cover, feel free to mention it in the chat below, and I will answer them to the best of my abilities. But right now I'm going to take a drink because my voice is like, oh my god. But I hope this was helpful. It looks like from the comments it was, which makes me very happy. What is France doing? My cat is on my printer, and I don't know what his objective is. Oh, I forgot. He has a box right next to the printer, so he's probably trying to get in the box. I forgot about that. Cats in their boxes, man. Oh, Keelan says, woo, this was awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Keelan. You're the sweetest. She asked, how much time do you typically spend researching as a part of your writing process? So this really depends for me. It depends, like I said earlier, on just how much research I'm doing. For Lost in Blue, I honestly didn't have to do a ton of research. The main research that I did was about the French setting, and that took, I believe that took about a month. To be fair, I wasn't like really consistently researching throughout the month. I would like do it maybe, I don't know, like once a week, and I would do it for like 8 or 9 hours at a time because I'm just the type of person who prefers to research in bulk. But yeah, so I would say for Lost in Blue, it took me about a month, and then for my other project called Smoke and Ashes, that one I'm still doing research for it, to be honest. So it's not done yet, but I have thus far like off and on I've spent like maybe like 3 or 4 months researching, but again, it's off and on. That's not really consistent research, and I've been researching maybe like every other week or so. But I would say in general, it probably takes me around 40 hours or more for research. And yeah, that's pretty much how long it takes me. Arya's comments, oh my god. Don't overload the reader with slang terms. Me glares at the manatee who did that in his story for the workshop this week. Man, I hate when people do that. It really gets on my nerves. Lujan? Oh, you literally said your name. Pronunciation right there, and I did not say that before I said your name. Lujane. Oh, Lujane. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm literally the worst at pronouncing names. It's so bad. Okay, anyways, I'm getting distracted. Okay, I love this. It was a very thorough presentation. I really needed this. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm very glad that it was helpful. I love making PowerPoints. So honestly, when I signed up for this, I was so excited because I was like, yes, I can make a PowerPoint. I'm so excited. Yes, I'm a nerd. It's fine. But thank you. Okay. Colin said, fabulous tips and great fun, Kylie. Thank you for letting us have the notes and slides. No problem. I know that especially as a student, I really appreciate it when people give me the notes and the PowerPoints and stuff. So I figured it would be the smartest to do it for you guys. Yeah. Okay. Sherry said, would you recommend Google or books or both for researching? Typically, I don't recommend books for researching just because I think that books give you a lot of in-depth information that you typically don't need. One great tip about researching that I actually read in a blog post today was about how if you read a book, only read like the sections of the book that you're going to need. So I don't want to like discount the credit of like using books in order to research. It's just something that I usually don't use because I feel like for me, I would want to read the entire book, and I feel like that would kind of be a waste of my time in most situations. So I would just recommend using Google, and then, like I said earlier, the different sources and websites on Google that are available to you in order to make your search a little bit smaller. That way, at least for me, you won't overwhelm yourself. Okay. And then Shankarti? I'm sorry, you guys. I'm bad at names. Any advice to incorporate or organize your research? I have like 8 books about Russia and it's too much. I'm guilty of researching just about everything. Hey, no worries. I feel like we've all been there. In terms of organizing my research, what I do is, so I will have a Word doc and I'll just like separate it into sections. So for example, let's say one of my sections is about French culture. I will have like subsections. So in one part, I might list these slang terms. In one part, I might say common words, like just stuff like that. And I'll have like just like major sections and then subsections in order to organize everything. And then I'll just put my notes in there. And I'll typically use the like heading features in Word. That way I can just easily click on all of them. So that's what's worked the best for me. And as far as incorporating the research, I will typically, just once I've researched, I will either start my outline or I will look back on my outline and just kind of see where the researching bits need to take place in the book. And I'll make a note of that in my outline. So for example, with Lost in Blue, in the first chapter, I made sure to make a note to include the research for the French culture and the setting and stuff like that, just because I wanted to be able to introduce it early on in the story. Aria said, I can't wait to share my workshop horror stories with the world. Oh my god, I can't wait to read them. I don't really read horror, but I will read them just because you wrote them. Okay, Emma said, I tend to research as I'm writing when I come across topics I don't know enough about. If I research before drafting, I might never start. LOL. Before starting draft 2, I'll go in depth on stuff. I've also heard a lot of other writers doing that. Again, this video is just based on my experience and how I do things. And yeah, so, but blah, 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 blah. But I totally get where you're coming from, and I could definitely see my version of Lost in Blue that I had just doing the research for that and then having to do it all over again once I came up with draft 2. So I could totally see it. There are definitely pros and cons to like any way that you research. And then Steek said, making PowerPoints were my favorite part about school presentations. Me too. I don't really have to do them anymore just because obviously with online stuff, you don't really need to do them. So again, when I got to make one for this, I was very excited. Okay. Aria asked, what are your personal favorite kinds of things to research? Anything to do with France. I love researching because I love France and the culture and the language so fucking much. You could probably tell because I feel like I mentioned that throughout the entire video. So that's always a lot of fun for me. I'm trying to think. I find the stuff about fighting and like how to kill someone very interesting. I promise I'm not a murderer. I promise. I find it very interesting. And also I find it interesting like about different like marginalized groups and like their culture and like kind of the oppression that they've been through and stuff like that. I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I really do enjoy the research process because most of the time I'm researching about a lot of things that I find very interesting. So yeah. Okay. Steek said, I feel like in this day and age, books get dated very fast. Yes, that is something I didn't even think to mention, but that is very true because I know especially a part of my English course last semester was about having reliable sources, and that's one of the reasons that books really aren't used that much, I feel like, for research anymore. Just because, sorry, it's another one of Aria's comments. Just because everything can just get outdated so fast, and obviously that's not good to you as you're researching. And then Aria, because I'm dumb and I did not interpret their last comment correctly, said, oh, I mean, like, horror stories of the things I've had to read / people in my workshop. Oh, that makes sense. You should make that a book, Aria. I'd totally read it. But yes, I do write horror in general, so I love it. I actually read one horror book, I think like, was it in June? July? One of the two. I think it was the first horror book I read. It was very good. I really liked it. So I do kind of want to try and get more into the genre. I do have a few books that are on my radar. Then Arya said, universal writer. Disclaimer, I promise I'm not a murderer. That is the damn truth. It reminds me of this one post that I saw on Pinterest that was like this idea of like a love story between a writer and a murderer, and like the writer would give the murderer ideas of like how they could murder people based on like the research they done for their books. I thought it was so interesting. Oh my god, I just we love to see it. Those are all the comments, questions, whatever they're called, that I see here. If you guys have any others, feel free to comment. I think we've already established that I have lost the ability to speak. Oh my god. I'm just going to keep that comment up because that is the best comment. Oh my god. Francois, if you guys are curious, is currently getting into the bag of treats like a bad kitty, and I can't decide if I want to bother getting him away from it or... I love this comment. Oh my god. You guys are killing me. So Dal said, I'm not a murderer yet. Oh my god, I love that so much. Oh, phenomenal, honestly. Oh, I see another comment. What? This is the best question I've gotten in my entire life. Arya asked if Francois and Ladix were writers, what would they write about? Okay, Francois is a very angry cat. He gets in fights with Ladix all the time. So I feel like he would write something very angsty. I feel like, oh my god, you know what he would write? He would write like one of those like YA, like really like dark books that talk about like drug use, like addiction, and it's just like very like angsty. I could totally see Francois writing that. Oh my god. As far as Ladix just wants to be held. He wants some love. He wants some food. So I could see Ladix writing like a really cute, like fluffy contemporary book. I feel like that would also be YA. And I feel like there would have to be food involved. I feel like if Ladix was human, he would love chocolate, you know? I feel like that would be a comfort food for him. And as a cat, his favorite flavors I've noticed are chicken and salmon, I think. Is salmon? Whatever it's called. So I feel like he would just like snack on like chocolate and chicken and maybe some salmon from time to time. And yeah, I feel like it would just be a cute little contemporary romance thing. Yeah. And now they're about to get in a fight. Hello. Okay. Oh, is she hiding the people? Oh my goodness, we were just talking about you. We were talking about you and how violent you are. Oh, isn't that fun? I promise he's not violent. Ow. Never mind. Kitty scratches surprisingly hurt. That is something I didn't think about when I got cats. I didn't think that their scratches were going to hurt so goddamn much, but they do. It's very weird. If you guys have any other questions, research or cat related, I guess, feel free to ask. Oh, but I love how opposite they are. They are truly polar opposites. It's hilarious. France's entire personality is scratching me until I bleed, and Ladix's entire personality is comforting me while I cry. Like, why I said that on the internet? Honestly, who knows? Oh wait, I didn't even put on the screen. Sorry. I'm literally crying. Oh my god, Arya, you are the best. I love it. Oh my god. I also want to highlight the other kitty comments I got. Yes, kitties, we love to see them. I would totally pull Ladix over here, but France is right here and I don't want to cause a fight. So okay. Shh. Charlie asked, you may have answered this question before, but do you have advice researching before, during, or after writing the first draft? So I personally prefer to do all my research at the start of the book. It might not technically be all the research because as a writer, I outline all my books, but I'll usually end up adding something in. Sorry if you can hear that. Francois was scratching at his box. But anyways, I typically will do all of the planning at the start of the novel prior to like writing it. But then as the writing process goes on, most of the time, I will end up writing in new plot points. So sometimes that means I will end up doing research in the middle of drafting. And in those cases, as soon as I realize that I'm going to add something in, I do research. So I guess I would just say that if you can, to do most of your research prior to writing is probably my best advice, because I think that's what makes it easier, because that can prevent you from doing a lot of rewriting, which can be pretty common, I feel like, with a lot of people who wait to research until later in the writing process. And then if you have to do it during the writing process, because like even for me, sometimes I'll think that I understand a topic very well, but then I go to write it and I realize that is not the case at all whatsoever. So in those situations, I will also go, and in the middle of the draft, I will go and research that topic more in depth so that I understand it better. So I guess I would just say try and do it before you start drafting. But if you have to, do it during the draft if, you know, one of those situations arise. But like someone else said earlier, some people prefer to just do the researching as they need it in the book or after they write, and you know what, that is completely fine. You know, just kind of, I think it's best to experiment and just figure out what works best for you, because at the end of the day, the research process is honestly just meant to make the writing process itself easier. And then Aria said the true hurt/comfort trope. That is so true. Just like in the form of cats. So we love to see it, honestly. Oh my god. Oh, my nose is so itchy. Whew, oh my god. I cannot believe it's almost already been an hour. I felt like I just got on here. I'm debating if I'm going to drag latex over here. While I wait for another comment to roll in, again, feel free to add in questions or cat questions. I don't know. Any questions, honestly. Also, I just want everyone to appreciate I'm wearing suit pants and I feel great. Okay. Anyways, hi. Look at the people. Oh my goodness. See, I just wish Francois would be this calm. You know what I mean? Like, he is sometimes, but most of the time, no. Oh no. Oh, hey baby. Hi. Is the last stream of this stream just gonna be me petting latex? Honestly, a brilliant way to end the stream, in my opinion. Oh, hello. Hello. Aria said hello, Radix. He says hello. Oh my god, Francois is in his box right now. I wish I could show you guys. He looks so cute. Oh, Radix used him today. I don't know what that facial expression was. That was a bad impersonation of you, Alex. I'm sorry. You look so cute. I know you're growling, but you're still very cute. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh. Hey, baby. Ah. I forgot that I had a time lapse going because I'm actually vlogging today. Fun fact. Because another fun fact, I didn't really go to sleep last night. Like, I kind of did. Here's the thing. I slept for like I think 4 hours, and then I woke up. I was wide awake. I could not fall back to sleep. So that sucked. Was not a fun time. So I decided to vlog. So hello. I don't know how long that time lapse is gonna be. Yeah, I thought it would be interesting to just like time lapse this live stream and just see how it goes. Oh, very good. Well, seeing as we are about to close out at the hour mark and I do not see any more questions, I think I'm just going to go ahead and end the stream here. Thank you so much to all of you who have watched. I hope that I helped you learn something. This was a fun time. Ladix and I appreciate you being here. If you are new and you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. I post videos once a week. And yes, Ladix is very growly because he's in the vicinity of Francois. He's like, I don't like this. Chief Ladix ultra chilled. Except for right now, apparently. Thank you, Kylie. This was so informative and fun. Oh, thank you so much, Aria. You're such a sweetheart. Are you the sweetest person in the world? I think so. You all are amazing. Okay. Anywho, I am gonna go. Honestly, I'm probably gonna take a nap. Let's be honest here. I need some sleep. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe button is somewhere. Make sure you subscribe. I post videos once a week on Thursdays. I talk about writing and reading, and my cat is trying to eat me now, okay? I'm trying to do an intro, and you were being so... thank you, Jennifer, so much for being here. Yeah, okay, thank you so much, everyone. I'm getting so sidetracked. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Hope it was helpful. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the retreats. If you have not, have checked out the other retreats. The links to the playlists are down below if you want to look at the PowerPoint or the notes for this. Again, the link is below. Go check it out. And in case you forgot, the secret word for the stream is red because my favorite color is red. Okay, that is all that I have. One last kitty growl. Ow! Okay, I'm gonna end this now. Okay. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your morning or afternoon or day or wherever you are in the world. And yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you guys another time. But before we do that, I see 2 new comments and I can't not respond to them. It is my downfall. Ladix is getting spicy. He's getting real spicy. Like, I need to put him back over by my bed or else he's gonna kill France. Oh my god. Like, the species in this cookie. Oh, spices? I said species. Y'all, I am tired. Oh my god. Also, Colin said that he subscribed. Thank you so much. Things usually aren't this heated with Ladix and France, I promise. I mean, they are, but not on camera. So, okay, I'm gonna go before these 2 fucking kill all of us. Thank you guys so much for watching this outro. Oh my god. I will see you guys hopefully in my next video, whenever that will be. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the treats. Okay, goodbye.